Okay, so we're up to Siman Reish Chof Ches. It's a short Siman, interesting Siman. Says the Mechaber Al Yamim Unahoris. We're talking about making the various brachas on natural phenomenon. The shaila is, what bracha do you make on rivers and on seas? What brachas do you make on rivers and on seas? Harim v'gvais or midbaris, or on mountains and valleys and midbar and the wilderness. So what bracha do you make on all of these natural phenomenon? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the creator of all the original creations. And on the great sea, it's the sea that crosses from Eretz Yisrael to Mitzrayim. That's the bracha you make on that sea. Now, what exactly is that sea? We'll talk about this. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what does that mean? Pirush. Kivan sheyasta me'oz. Since HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world and established these natural phenomena, the mountains and the seas in their places, all of these places are still in situ. They're all still there, and therefore we give praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu about that. That's not an appropriate bracha, like we make on tornadoes and thunder, because those can be heard and seen from a long distance. All of the other things, the Nahar and the Yam, are only seen in that place, and therefore we have a different bracha, and that is Oisem Ma'aseh Bereishis. Now, what is the Yam HaGadol? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Nikri, that's the Yam she'ovrin ben Eretz Yisrael and Mitzrayim. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Base, for Nikri Yam HaGadol mipnei chashivus shel Eretz Yisrael. That's why it's called the Yam HaGadol. Not necessarily it's the biggest. We're talking about the Mediterranean Sea. Not necessarily because it's the biggest, but because it sort of laps up the shore of Eretz Yisrael. Many argue with the Mechaber. They only say Hayam Hagadol when it's a large ocean. Shehu Hayam Hagadol Shekol Hayamim. The Pacific, the Atlantic. Then that necessitates Yam Hagadol. Shemakefes Kol Ha'olam. Those circumvent the entire world. Olav Kovul Bracha B'fnei Atzam B'fnei Godlei. Aval Hayam She'ovrim B'Eretz Yisrael. But on the sea, the Mediterranean, which is a smaller sea, Lei Nikra L'Inizei Yam Hagadol Merachin Av Kamei Shayamim, and therefore you make Oisem Ma'aseh Bereishis like you would on other seas. I think they tell the Ma'aseh of one of the Gedolim, I forget who it was, possibly Rav Shapiro, that when he went to the Straits of Gibraltar, you can see from there, you're at a vantage point where you can see the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, I guess, and therefore he says, at this point, the Lokala days I can make the bracha of Hayam HaGadol. Okay, but I think the minhag is to make it on when you're in Eretz Yisrael, you say Hayam HaGadol. When you see other seas, you say Ma'aseh Bereishis, unless of course it's an ocean. Yeah, we're going to come to that. Yeah, V'da D'chol HaBrachos. You only do it every 30 days, the Shloshim Yom. Oisem Yam HaGadol. I.e. in the past. Okay, good. Sif base. You don't make on every river. Only on the 4 big rivers that are mentioned in Bereshis, where they're in the original form and not they've been sort of extended or diverted through human means. Says the Mishnah Berurah, but any river which is as big as those 4 rivers, i.e., so long as they're in the original form, let's say the Nile, or these sort of things, then you know that they haven't been sort of man-made, but they're because again, you're making the bracha, Oisem Ma'aseh Bereishis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the original creation, so they've got to be in the original form. That's talking about rivers. Mimakom Shlei Nishtana, Pirush to Mimakom Shechafru V'Shinu, but if they dug and it was man-made and they changed the flow of the river, from that point on, the man-made point on, you don't make the bracha. The Shomla love Ma'aseh Bereishis, because that's not how it was with Ma'aseh Bereishis. If you're not sure, then don't make the bracha. and it's got to be natural and not man-made. Alidei Adam Sifkot and Vov. And so too with the seas as well. Again, if there was a change, man-made deviation, you don't make it. But the trouble is, when it comes to seas, we're not really worried about human interference. A sea is a sea, and you can't really make too many changes. And therefore, you make Eisemai separations on a sea, unless it's the Yam HaGadol, which is either one of the oceans, or the Mediterranean, which touches Eretz Yisrael, or an original Nahar. Let's just do Gimel and then 2 quick comments. Gimel, V'lo al kol harim u'gvois mevorach. You don't make on every mountain and every sort of valley mevorach ela davka al harim u'gvois hamashunim v'nikeres gvuras habayra habayim. It's got to be something which is quite breathtaking, and you see the gvuras Hashem. Now, 2 interesting ha'aras. What type of mountains do you make on? You go see, the Alps, right? So that's majestic, and then it's Nikeres Gvuras Habayra. But what if you go to Golders Hill Park, and you see something there, or you go to Chvei somewhere, a bit smaller? What is the ged there? So look at number 2, which continues on to the back. Number 2, Le'inyan harim v'gvois hamashunim shekos v'ashulchan aruch sheyesh levarach aleihem kosov ha'kseis ha'shulchan. They don't have to be Mount Everest. It doesn't have to be so famous that they're huge mountains. And the Kseis HaShulchan and the Orach HaShulchan, all right. Jumping to the back now. They've got to be famous. That they're substantial mountains. So the Alps or anything which is they have to. Mistoma, that's quite well known. Mistoma, yeah. Well, Mahim Gavois, Das Hamar Vaksia, Tal Zokov for like mounds. I said valleys, that was wrong. Tal Zokov for Chol Mechud Bereshes, where it's got a sharp incline. Meidach Gro Kosov Shahar Nomach, even a small mountain, Ktsas, Sheresha in a Mechud Shatuach. It doesn't have to be a very steep incline, it could be even a gradual incline. That would still be. So it's hard to know exactly, but something which is impressive and Nikaris Maisa Beira. One last point, what about the Kinneret? Do you make a bracha on the Kinneret? Is it because it was, how did you look at that? So if you look at number 3 at the back there, he says, interestingly, Haroyes HaKinneret Nira Medivre HaMarva K'tzir Shemevarich Olav Eisa Maisa Bereishis. You make a bracha on the Kinneret. V'chein das HaGonim Ben Yashav, HaGonim Chaim Pichas Scheinberg, and Rav Nissen Karetlitz. However, the Rabbi Elyashiv adds, Shedafka Beroya Es Kol HaKinneret, where you'll stand, when you're standing like at the top of the Tiberia, and you're looking down, you see the whole Kinneret, that's when you should do it. But according to Rabbi Elyashiv, if you're standing, I guess, close up and you can't see the whole thing, then not. Why not? Shem Eina Roya Es Kula, Shema B'meshech HaZman HaHisrachfo. Maybe over the years, it's actually enlarged. Like we said above, you've got to only make a bracha on something which was there from Maisa Bereshis, from the original form. But perhaps the Kinneret has sort of extended, and if you're only seeing a little bit of it, maybe the bit you're seeing is the extension, not the original. But certainly, if you can see the entire Kinneret, you would make the bracha. And according to other poskim, I don't think they make that chiluk. But that's Rabbi Elyashiv. So it comes out that if you see something which is, you see a beautiful ocean, you make Hayam HaGadol, you see that if it's the ocean, it's one of the big oceans, then Hayam HaGadol, or the Mediterranean. And if you see other seas and other mountains which are Nikaris Gvuras Habayra, then you make Eisa Maisa Bereishis. Okay.
Can you say it after you've seen it?
Yeah, if it's still there in front.
As we speak, my daughter, as we speak, is making her way back from Australia.
Oh
as
wow.
We speak.
Yeah.
So I can quickly tell her before she takes off on her second leg.
Oh, I see. Is she not in front of it?
She's flying over it.
Actually, that I don't know. I think it's if your mum is standing there, you make the bracha. If you've seen it, if you've read.
What did you say about making a goimel for a woman? What did you say about such a flight?
For goimel, yeah. Well, okay, we'll pick that up afterwards. Let me just press off.
Talk about it.